We are continuing today in the 11th chapter of Mesillas Yesharim. Today, Monday, the 13th of Cheshvan, November 7th. And the Ramchal titles this parak Beprate Midas HaNekios. Literally, again, the details of the midah, of the character trait of Nekios, which we loosely translate as cleanliness, but we understand, of course, through our extensive learning that this is not referring to anything physical, but rather ultimately, again, is referring to spiritual cleanliness, a need to look deep inside myself and to uproot the negative things which are causing me to make excuses for derelict behavior, and often just obscuring my vision from seeing things from what they should be. So Ramchal writes as follows: Prate midas hanekios rabim heim ma'od v'hinam. There are many details of the midah of Nekios. The truth is, they are as numerous as the details of the 365 prohibitions in the Torah. How so? Because the midah of Nekios, literally again, is sometimes we have certain residual pieces of sinful behavior embedded within our self. And the goal of Nekios is to purge those things. So as many prohibitions, as many averos as there are, that's what I have to make sure that I'm able to cleanse myself of. Ve'ulam, even though the Yitzhahara tries to get me to commit all different kinds of averos, so this is a really profound statement that the truth is we all know to be true. Even though there are many different averos, there are certain things that I struggle with, and certain things that by definition I want or I'm drawn to more than other things. And it's dafka for those things that I require a heightened sense of chizuk, a greater amount of strength to overcome my Yitzhahara and to cleanse myself from that sin. Chazal said theft and immorality are things that people want, and they want it more than other things. You see, Chazal understood, although there are many averas, some things I don't struggle with. Like on a given day, I don't struggle with killing someone. I don't struggle with wearing shatnez. Right? I don't necessarily struggle with eating milk and meat. That's me. Someone else might have different struggles, but yet there are certain averas which I struggle with very much, which for other people may not be a problem. The things you struggle with the most, those are the things that I really have to go ahead and be mashrish, I have to get into my spiritual kishkas to try to go ahead and uproot or somehow remove those sinful, that sinful residue that's there, that sometimes blinds me or sometimes causes me to make excuses and justify errant behavior. Rubam tomim tam geneva masamatanam b'mashiyoru heter liatzmam lehistaker ish b'efsedo shalchavero v'yomru laharbiach shiny. So this is very interesting. The Ramchal says, Gemara just quoted before, the Ramchal quoted before the Gemara Maseches Hagiga, that when it comes to theft, a person desires theft. So the Ramchal says, it's not the pshat that most people have an active Yitzhahara to steal from someone else. That's not really what this is. What the Ramchal is saying is, because most of us, healthy people, don't, but, for example, in business, a person would be tempted to cut certain corners that are, and to conduct themselves in a dishonest way. But one second, but I'm an honest person. So we justify. How do we justify? We justify business is different. All is fair in love and war and business. So business is different. V'ulam. Lavim harbi ne'amru b'gezel. There are many prohibitions associated with theft. Lo signov, lo sigzol, lo sashok, lo sichachashu, v'lo sishakru ish b'amito, lo sonu ish esacher, lo sasig v'ore echa, hein kol elech iluki dinim shebegezel. See, he points out over here, without getting into the details of every single one of these prohibitions, there are so many prohibitions associated with theft, so many prohibitions, and yet the amazing part is that so many of these things a person may violate just in the course of doing day-to-day business. And therefore, the Ramchal says that's why the Gemara says that gezel v'arayos, that people desire theft. I mean, people desire theft. I don't have a desire to go and steal someone's wallet out of their pocket. It's true, but in business, I may cut certain corners, right? In business, I may do certain things that the truth is I know are not right, or at least are questionable, but I justify it because hey, it's business. Kilo kol hamaisa hanikar mefursam ba'oshek ubegezel hu levado ha'aser. Ela kol shesof yagia elav yigramoso kvar hu bichlala iser. And this is very interesting. The Ramchal says because sometimes he's focusing here much more on business, but he's saying sometimes a particular action, although you could globalize this past business as well, a particular action may not be prohibited. But if I do this action, it will lead me to do something else. And even though this particular thing may not be permitted, what it leads to will absolutely be prohibited. V'al kein zva'al ze amru zichron levracha ves eshes re'ehu lo timei shelo yarad lu'umnos shchavero. Ukvar hay Rabbi Yossi, this is very interesting. So the Gemara discusses this idea, for example, of going ahead and doing something which could adversely impact someone else's livelihood. It could very well be that that the first step involved in that is nothing prohibited, but then over time, things evolve, and what starts out as something innocuous could pave the way for some really terrible behaviors. So what the Ramchal is trying to sensitize us to is that the Midah of Nikios says it's not just enough to make sure you're not doing something negative. The Midah of Nikios demands that I kind of have to be Roa Asanol, to have to see down the road and look at what my actions could become. Right now it might be fine, but what could it become later on? And try to contemplate, to try to plan for that as well. So the Gemara quotes an example over in Baba Metzia that Rabbi Yehuda said that one shopkeeper who is in competition with another, the shopkeeper can't go ahead and distribute candies. Well, literally it means parched grains, right? Grains and nuts to the kids in order to lure business towards him. Now the Chachamim disagreed, and the Chachamim said you can because the other shopkeeper has the ability to do it as well. In other words, what Rabbi Yehuda was concerned about creating an unfair advantage. The point over here is there's nothing inherently wrong with the shopkeeper handing out door prizes to get people to come inside, but Rabbi Yehuda felt that there has to be a sensitivity there. Now the truth is, this is part of a different discussion also, which is that a person has to recognize that parnosa, livelihood, is from Hashem, and as such, trampling on another person, taking advantage of another person, putting another person at a disadvantage, will probably not put you ahead in any way. But the idea that the Ramchal is trying to focus on over here is that sometimes what's difficult about the midah of Nikios is if something is blatant theft or something is blatantly wrong, I know it, and most times I could avoid it. It's interesting is that sometimes things are gray, and then again, because I'm not nucky, therefore again I'm more heter, I give excuses for myself, or sometimes things could even be totally permitted, but because I'm wearing blinders, I refuse to see what this action could lead to, when in fact it's so clear that by going down this road, I'm putting myself on a particular path towards negative behavior. Stealing from an individual is even worse than stealing from the Beis Hamikdash. The Ramchal says because again, the way that the Torah describes it, is one prohibition. It goes ahead, literally translated, it means that when the Torah speaks about stealing from a regular person, the Torah goes ahead and mentions the word chet, which means sin, before me'ilah, which means treachery. And when it comes to stealing from the Beis Hamikdash, ultimately again, it goes ahead and it mentions sin first. So the idea over here is in the Beis Hamikdash, mentions treachery, me'ilah, before it mentions sin. So you see over here the fact that chet is used first before treachery, before me'ilah. When one steals from a person, that shows in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, theft from another person, trampling upon another person, is even worse than theft from the Beis Hamikdash. All right, we'll stop over here for today. And Amir, so again, to kind of summarize, what the Ramchal is pointing out over here is as follows, that he's focusing over here very much on Gezel. And the reason he's doing that is because the Gemara Maseches Chagiga says Gezel and Arayos are things that people want. Remember, in the world of sin, there are things that I actively want and things that I don't struggle with. So the things that I don't struggle with, it's not a struggle. But the things that I want, those are the things I struggle with. And that's where the concern is that I'm not going to see my actions for what they are. And there's two pieces to this. Number one, I'll be blinded to actions. I'll be blinded to certain things that I know are wrong, but I just don't see it. Or that I'll be blind to the fact that even certain things that may be okay now could lead to something negative as well. So that I'm illustrating this through Gezel, through theft. Will the Meretz Hashem see it in other examples as well. And then, of course, we'll focus on how to acquire this midah of nikios. Wishing everyone a wonderful day.